Welcome back to the Kids Ministry and Leadership Podcast from KidMin Collective. Monthly episodes featuring leading global KidMin voices, real stories, and practical leadership tools. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Kids Ministry and Leadership Podcast. I'm Andy Kirk, and today I've got my friends with me, Jen Brown and Justin Edge. Good to have you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks, Andy.
Awesome. Well, today we're going to be talking about aligning our teams towards a common mission.
Okay.
And I think this is great because I know both of you are incredible leaders, leading teams in organizations that have an overarching mission. And in that, we get our own autonomy, though. God has created us. He's called us. And often I've seen in church and in leadership, people swing both ways. You get this concept of where they really lean to my gift, and they want my, and they end up over here and forgetting that they're part of the mission, or they are so held to this mission or the box that was set that they're too afraid to actively lead themselves. So I guess to frame it for everyone today, that's what we're really talking about. So let me start with you, Justin. When it comes to that, in that ministry space, how have you managed that or navigate that as a leader for you working in a big world? Yeah, just have that autonomy still to lead.
Yeah, for me, I serve as our lead kids pastor at Life Church. And what I love is our senior leader, Pastor Craig Rochelle, our mission is to lead people to become fully devoted followers of Christ. Right?
Yeah.
Our mission is to lead kids to become fully devoted followers of Christ. Right. So it's a gift. It's a gift to be able to have that lead vision. And then inside of that is like, what does that look like for kids?
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful because it gives me a wide box, but also a narrow box to be able to lead and be successful in. Yeah. And then I have the gift to go, what does God call me to do and lead in that particular window to lead through that? Yeah. And so I'm looking forward to a conversation today, but for me, that's one thing that I feel thankful for is having that vision. That's great. Then I don't have to create something new, something unique and special because I've given the gift from a senior leader who I follow to be able to lead inside of that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Jim, what about you? What would you say? You lead in a lot of global spaces and connect with a lot of different ministries and really combining them under one mission. Yeah. They all had their own, not agendas, that's a bad word, but they have their own mission or purpose, vision, but aligning that, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's well, let's just say this. It's you can't see my gray hairs right now, but they are there because there's a lot of complexity that goes in that type of work. But I believe it's the complexity that really creates a path for the Lord to move in a mighty way in these types of missions and visions. But I love what you said, Justin, because what you described is the work of contextualizing mission and vision for a particular team. And a lot of times when you're working for an organization or a ministry or a church, and that vision is so large and so big, as it should be, sometimes you have to do the work of contextualizing it for a particular team. And so I love how you took that big vision of Life Church and brought it down to here's what we're focusing in on as a team. These are the objectives that we're working towards. So I love that. When we think about multiple entities working together, that's really complex. And I think I think what I love about that type of work is because when a mission grows, the people, the teams, the individuals should also grow with the mission. And when that doesn't happen, it often leads to a collapse of the sustainability of that mission and vision. So you need when you've got a big vision like that, you need the team, the individual to be growing just as big and as fast. And so as a leader, when I think about competing visions, competing agendas, I'm thinking about how do I develop the individuals on my team at a pace and an accelerated rate that matches how the mission and vision is growing.
That's a great thought in for me, when I look back in my early ministry, I learned that lesson where I was trying to recruit people onto teams. And as we're trying to align people into teams, selfishly or naively or immaturely, whatever, or all of the above, it was, I'm trying to get them to do my mission.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just recruiting them to that. And to your point, the sustainability is not there because if I'm just signing them up to do tasks, then they're gonna drop. And so I even remember the early days of leading a children's ministry, putting people on roster and teams. I always made sure it was about them and knowing them and leading them and understanding the college students. So they've got exams coming up, rostering them off,
Yep.
looking at the parents and those aspects, but helping them grow. So when the one, for instance, got really good at singing or was really good at media, I would send them into the worship team or send them to the production team, and that it wasn't hanging on as if it's my ministry or my mission to build. It's actually God's. And so I think it's a really good point that you raised there, that we're in the business of growing people. And so my greatest joy now, many, many years later, is actually helping define where I can help people get to something else. That really brings me the greatest joy.
I love that, because when I think about when you have that mission and vision, it has to be clear, have to articulate it well. It's got to be clear
Right.
and concise. It can't be confused or muddled or whatever. But what you talk about, Andy, I love, because what you have the gift is to be able to engage with someone, share your mission, invite them into that mission. And once you invite them in, the next step is key, is asking, how do you see yourself playing out into this mission?
Yes.
Having that conversation, and then start investigating the thing that we can all talk all day on, is the why.
Yes.
What is their why?
Yeah.
Because no matter what, in your role, Jen, Andy, myself, anytime the boat gets rocked, it gets challenging, you've got to get rooted back to that why.
Yeah.
And so when you talked a little bit earlier, Jen, about the whole, I think you talked a little bit about, you have to make sure that they can have that, was it sustainability, or
That individuals are growing just as fast and with alongside the mission as it grows.
yeah. And so like that individual, they have to have their why. They have to know what is going on, how to do that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, that's an amazing why. I can see how that plays out. Then connecting them back to the things that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Because I have to think about, if I just look back to people who came onto my team, got recruited, those that responded with a reaction of like, I'll go do that thing because so-and-so told me to,
Right.
they don't last.
Yep.
Versus them going, oh, I've been doing this for 15 years, because they have that why established. And I think that's key, because they found their purpose, their why, their calling, their gifting inside this overarching idea of our mission.
Yeah. You're really talking about aligning those values.
Oh, yeah.
And then through those values, it's I've had people in children's ministry that I'm like, how do you want to join the children's ministry? And they're like, no way, I don't have any kids. But you're bringing them onto the check-in area to engage with adults. The why here is to create, fully devoted children to Christ.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you are going to get locked in a 3-year-old's room, with 20 screaming kids. It really is about the mission of seeing this. But you find these ones who are so passionate about seeing the kids, and they can find a place to fit. Where have you seen it drift? Like what you were saying before, we've got to keep them healthy, and we see it aligned. That's one. But where is another area that you'd say, Jen, that you can see this drift happen when the overarching mission is there, that it starts to drift in that leader?
Yeah, I don't think we talk enough about entrustment, and how each and every single one of us, we have been entrusted with skills, competencies, talents, but we've also been entrusted with people. And so if we are equally as committed to developing in ourselves those skills, those competencies, those talents, as we are to developing people, I think that's the full picture of entrustment. And it always calls me back to the parable of the talents, right, in the New Testament, where it's like, here I'm giving 5, I'm giving 2, I'm giving 1. And I'm just not satisfied with saying, here's my 5 back. I want to be that, here's my 10. And here's the, because I was so faithful, here's an extra 1 on top of that, an 11 talent person, right? That's what we talk about. So in that work of entrusting, the work that's been given to us, but also entrusting it to others.
Yes.
I find when mission and vision drifts, it's when we hoard mission and vision, right?
That's good.
And so if you're one of those leaders that is so committed to, and we see it in the parable, right? I want to be an 11 talent person, but that could be limited to just what's been entrusted to me. But I think when I look at that parable, I see the movement of, it's not just what's been entrusted to me, but it's also how I entrust others, because that's the work of the master in the
Powerful
parable.
is where you're touching on a point there. I remember years ago I was preaching at a children's ministry conference, and you talk about within the first, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, losing the entire crowd. Okay, I didn't mean to. I'm just highly
I can imagine.
offensive. You could imagine, yeah, of course, right? Because what I was talking about, it was that scripture when I thought of it, because it was about the talents, and it was about exactly what we're talking about when you hang on to it and make your identity about this. And so I was talking about if you're the old leader in this room, that's 70 or 80, and I've been faithful in children's ministry. So no, you haven't been full of faith. You've been there, but it's so
Present.
so you've been present. So I offended them. I said, because I'm like, you've made your identity this role. I said, or you're the new leader and you're striving to, make sure you get out and make your mark in leadership. And then as it was coming out of my mouth, I looked out in the room and I've literally got all the young leaders, all the old leaders, and I've probably got 6 in the middle that are like, yeah, that's good. The other hundreds are sitting there going, oh, I like this guy. But what I was touching on was that we form our identity around the mission. And I remember many years ago hearing someone say at a conference, and I was stuck with it. I'm going to get replaced in everything.
Yeah.
Except being a husband to Christy and a father to my 3 boys.
Yeah.
Everything else I'm replaced. I've worked in different roles. I've worked in different spaces. And so why I work hard, I hold it loosely. And if you build your identity, it's exactly what you're talking about. It's just, I'm stewarding this right now towards the mission, but it can't be, this is my mission. And so I think you hit on a great point.
There's a phrase that one of our directional leadership team members at our church talks about. It's like, you never can go wrong investing in someone else.
Absolutely.
And it's because it's a thing that it's what you're saying. Even when I plant the seeds,
Right.
or when I invest, it's like, that's where that challenge gets into. It's like all of our roles, kids, pastors, whatever it may be, your whole thing is like, how do I accomplish this mission, this goal through others? Not to say, look, I use someone, I delegate. It's not that. You've given them an opportunity to see and taste and feel what God can do through them.
Yeah.
And we rob them that opportunity when we do it ourselves.
Yeah, that's a great thought. Let me just change track a little bit here. What happens though when it gets boring? And what I mean by that is the mission is there, and I am investing in people, but I'm just doing it. I'm doing it faithfully. It can get boring sometimes. So what would you say to that? It's like just the repeated same old goals.
And I think that's where you're gonna have to step into, are you focusing in on task, or have you lost focus on the why that you're leading into?
Yeah, that's good.
Because I think there is, to a level of degree, no matter business, kids ministry, there is a sense of repetition.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the weekend, But as soon as you replace this process of doing the thing to go, these are lives being changed. These are people who are getting shifted and shaped in the formation of Christ. That's when things should trick. Now, if that continues to be a thing, you're over and over, it's a time to check your heart. It's a time to check and go,
Which comes back to what you were saying. Yeah, you growing and then imparting into the others. Yeah.
because you can get to a rhythm of, I'm not reading my Bible,
Yeah.
private church in my quiet time, those type of things.
Yeah.
And that's where we could talk about this, just having that accountability to go, hey, Andy, hey, Jen, I've been struggling in this area. I'm starting to see the repetition, and then having that trusted voice speak back into you.
What about the other side then? I'm just throwing questions out. What happens on the other side then? So, okay, it's not boring, but Jen, sometimes the pressure of the organization, there's pressure that comes down. So we've got a mission, and you bought in, and
Yeah.
but there's that
Yeah.
pressure there. In how do you manage still the autonomy that you're um, praying and believing for strategy and ways to do it within that, but sometimes it gets put upon you. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, when I think about the question you asked Justin and the question you asked me, I would offer a thought for both of those. So if it's boring and if it's also equally as complex, I would say really take a look at what you're inputting into your mind and into your heart. And I say that really strategically, because if we are inputting with challenging thoughts, new information, new perspectives, then the work that we have in front of us isn't going to remain the same
Yeah.
because you're constantly going to be on a path of
So good.
changing and developing
Yeah.
because your perspective is changing and
Yeah.
developing alongside of the mission and vision. And equally so, when things are complex, I double down on what I'm putting in here because the greatest, Peter Drucker says this and I love it. He says the greatest danger in turbulence is not the danger itself, but it's to think with yesterday's logic. So if I'm still thinking with the same logic of yesterday,
Yeah.
I'm going to succumb to the complexity. I'm going to feel it. But one thing that we say at One Hope all the time is our inheritance may be ambiguity, but our legacy should always be clarity. So I think the responsibility of the leader is to absorb the ambiguity,
Yep.
but be intentional about leaving a legacy of clarity.
Yeah.
And sometimes that just requires thinking in new ways, challenging yourself to think outside of the box and to invite new perspectives in.
Yeah.
Which is, and to summarize and not to simplify what you said, which was brilliant, but it really is to keep it simple and with repetition. And for those that are watching and those that are listening, for you is to break down that mission, break down that vision that your leader is doing, and exactly what you said. I love that yours wasn't a whole different logo that didn't say Life Kids.
Yeah.
The mission wasn't, the same, but to kids, because I see some ministries and they've brought it over here, which comes back to my identity.
Yeah.
But it's keeping it simple, but then repeating it so you can lead the teams that you get to lead. I always I always heard a saying years ago that was be more committed to the team that you're on than the one you lead. And sometimes we overvalue that you as the leader, and so you think you're important there, but you need to be more committed to your peers and investing into them. Because I know that when Justin's winning, I'm actually winning. When Jen's winning, I'm winning. And if I can be committed to my peers,
Yes.
and I'll break it right down to a local church context and then out to other organizations and ministries. It's when was the last time you championed the youth ministry? When was the last time you championed the production department? And so if I can just be committed to my peers more than that I am to my team that I lead, we actually all move together on mission. So
Right.
Yeah, you're right on it. I was just thinking, like, when's the last time that you got excited about someone else's goal so much that they thought it came from you, but it was someone else's goal.
I love that.
yeah,
And because it's like you always get more excited about the things that you're passionate about.
yes,
It's like, how do I help Jen win? Because Jen's new in role.
Yeah.
She's only been here for 3 months.
Yeah.
How can me, been here for 5 years, help her get some wins?
yes,
And give her some confidence.
Great.
absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you're right on it. That's great.
That's a good thought. As we close out today, any last thoughts really on that mission and aligning? I know that everything you can talk all around leadership, go around there and it comes back to us. But Jen, what would you say in that space again, just to align our hearts with Christ in order to keep us going forward?
Yeah, I think, the spirit will always move in the direction of our openness. And so if we truly want to be spirit filled and spirit led, that it starts with our posture, it starts with who we are. So all of this we know, but the more we sit with it,
Yep.
the more we allow it to be a daily reminder and a daily posture, I think it infuses our leadership in a new and a fresh way. And we need more of that in the children's ministry space.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, guys. Having a chat today. It was fantastic. For those that are watching, those that are listening, thanks for joining the Kids Ministry and Leadership Podcast. We hope that you can come back next month and listen as you continue just to grow and understand more about who you are so that you can empower others to lead in a better place.